Let me tell you something. I am 57 years old. I have worked since I was 14. 14. I had a paper route. I shoveled driveways in January in Ohio, and I once held 3 jobs at the same time while raising 2 kids in a house with 1 bathroom and a furnace that only worked when it felt like it. Nobody asked me how I was feeling, and I turned out fine. Actually, you know what? Don't fact check that with my wife. Welcome back. I'm Gary. I'm 57. My knees hurt. My doctor looks like he's in 8th grade, and apparently that makes me out of touch. Today we are talking about therapy, specifically why I think the explosion of therapy culture is the single biggest reason Gen Z cannot function as adult human beings in the real world. Now, before you close this video and go process your emotions about it, stay with me. Because I'm not saying therapy is evil. I'm saying what we've done with therapy is creating an entire generation of people who are absolutely helpless the moment life gets uncomfortable. And life will get uncomfortable. That's not a threat. That's just a Tuesday. When I was growing up, if something bad happened to you, here's what the adults in my life said. Walk it off. Toughen up. You think you got problems. And then, this is the important part, you walked it off. You toughened up. You realized other people had bigger problems, and you got on with your life. Was that the perfect system? Probably not. My father had emotions he never dealt with, and I could write a whole separate video about that man and his relationship with a lazy boy recliner. But here's what that system did do. It taught us that discomfort was not an emergency. That feeling bad was not a crisis, that you could be upset on a Wednesday and still show up to work on Thursday. Gen Z has been taught the opposite. They've been taught that every uncomfortable feeling is a symptom. Every bad day is a mental health event. Every difficult conversation is a potential trauma. Every boss who raises their voice is causing workplace PTSD. And so the moment life squeezes them even a little bit, they crack because nobody ever taught them that the squeeze is normal. The squeeze is just called being alive. Now here's where it gets really interesting to me. It's not just that Gen Z goes to therapy. It's that they have taken therapy language and turned it into a shield they use against every single human interaction that makes them uncomfortable. Robert, you ever try to have a regular conversation with a 24-year-old now? You can't give feedback without them saying you're being triggering. You can't set an expectation without them saying you're not respecting their boundaries. You can't express frustration without them saying you're creating an unsafe environment. I said to a young man at work, I said, hey, this report needed to be done by Friday. It's Monday. What happened? Normal question. Reasonable question. Question I've been asked 100 times in my life. This young man looked at me and said, I'm not making this up. He said, I need you to be aware of how your communication style is affecting my nervous system. His nervous system. I nearly left my body. I've been in the workforce for 40 years. I have had bosses throw papers at me, and I've had managers scream so loud the ceiling tiles shook. I once got fired over the phone while eating a sandwich, and I finished the sandwich because it was a good sandwich and I wasn't going to waste it. Nobody was worried about my nervous system. And I survived. I adapted. I learned. I got better. Because when you can't hide behind therapy speak, you have to actually develop the skill of dealing with people who are difficult. And guess what? The entire world is full of difficult people. That skill is worth more than any degree you'll ever get. Here's the thing about therapy that nobody wants to say out loud. A certain kind of therapy, not all therapy, but a certain kind, gives people an explanation for everything they do wrong. Can't hold a job. Attachment issues, can't finish anything, ADHD, snapped at your partner, emotional dysregulation, made a bad decision, unresolved childhood patterns. Now look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying none of that is real, Some of it is absolutely real, and those people deserve real help. But there is a version of this, and Gen Z lives in this version, where therapy has become the world's most expensive excuse machine. Because once everything you do has a clinical explanation, nothing is ever actually your fault. And the moment nothing is your fault, you stop trying to change. Why would you change? You have a diagnosis, you have a label, you have a very long word that explains why you are exactly the way you are and why everyone else needs to accommodate it. We didn't have that luxury, we just had to be better. So we got better. It's amazing what you improve at when you can't outsource the blame. Let me paint you a picture. My grandfather came back from Korea. You know what therapy he got? A handshake and a bus ticket home. That's it. That was the full mental health package in 1953. Did he have issues? That man had a collection of issues. He kept them in a shed and never spoke of them again. Was that healthy? Absolutely not. I will not be defending the shed method today, but here's what he also did. He got a job. He raised a family. He showed up every single day. He coached Little League. He built a deck with his bare hands. He kept moving because movement was the only therapy available, and so he used it. Now I look at 25-year-olds today who have access to more mental health resources than any generation in human history. Apps, therapists, support groups, hotlines, YouTube channels, entire TikTok communities dedicated to emotional wellness, and they are the most anxious, most depressed, most unable to cope generation we have ever produced. Doesn't that strike anyone else as strange? More therapy, more awareness, more resources, more diagnosis, more language, more validation, and somehow worse outcomes. I'm not saying therapy caused that. I'm asking a genuine question. If the medicine keeps increasing and the patient keeps getting sicker, at what point do you look at the medicine? All right, I've been yelling for several minutes. Let me be fair, because my wife says I'm only credible for about 4 minutes before I just sound like a man who's angry at clouds. Here's what I actually think. I think real therapy, real, genuine clinical help for people with real conditions is valuable. Depression is real. Anxiety disorders are real. Trauma is real. I'm not disputing any of that. What I'm disputing is the culture that has grown up around it, the culture that says every feeling must be processed, every discomfort must be examined, every hard emotion must be sat with and unpacked and discussed and validated before you're allowed to move on. Because life does not wait for you to finish processing. Your landlord doesn't care that you're in a difficult emotional space this month. Your kids don't care that you need to regulate your nervous system before dinner. Your employer, and I cannot stress this enough, your employer does not care about your inner child. What builds resilience is not talking about hard things. It's doing hard things. It's showing up when you don't want to. It's finishing what you started. It's being uncomfortable and choosing to stay anyway. You don't get strong by talking about lifting weights. At some point, you have to pick up the weight. Now, I know what half of you are doing right now. You're composing a comment about how I'm the reason your generation needs therapy in the first place, and honestly, fair enough. We probably didn't help. But here's the thing, and this is the part I actually mean. The world is hard. It was hard for us. It's hard for you. It'll be hard for whoever comes after you. That part doesn't change. What changes is whether you've built the capacity to handle it. And I genuinely worry that we have raised or helped raise a generation that has been so protected from discomfort that they've never had the chance to find out how strong they actually are. Because I think they might be stronger than they look. They're just never going to find out if someone's always there to validate why they couldn't try. I'm Gary. My knees hurt. I'll see you next week. And yes, I know I need therapy. I have a shed full of reasons why I won't go.